we're starting tonight with that breaking news. The State Board of Elections making a decision on the future of New Hanover County's Elections Director. Sources close to the process tell WECT the state board's executive director has agreed to fire DeNay Harris. Let's bring in WECT's Connor Smith joining us with details. Connor, what do we know right now about the state's decision?
Yeah, state and county elections officials aren't telling us much right now, but just within the last hour, the State Board of Elections has confirmed that a decision has been made. And I've learned the state board's executive director sent a detailed letter yesterday agreeing that DeNay Harris should be fired. The New Hanover County Elections Board unanimously agreed to send a petition for removing her back in March. We still don't know the exact reasons why. The county and state elections boards have repeatedly called this a personnel issue they can't discuss. Harris previously told us her suspension was retaliation for raising various misconduct allegations against top county officials, though county leaders have largely disputed those claims. Sam Hayes, the executive director of the North Carolina State Board of Elections, issued his decision yesterday, and we are working to get a copy of that letter. Here's a look at how we got here. Harris was suspended back on March 19th. The County Elections Board sent that removal petition to the state on March 25th, and Harris formally responded to the petition on May 1st. And today, the State Board of Elections confirming its executive director has made a decision, which again, my sources say was to fire Harris. I've reached out to Harris and her attorney for comment. They have yet to respond. We will include any response we get inside this story on your WECT News app. JC?
All right, Connor, it is important to note this process still isn't officially over.
Yeah, that's right. The State Elections Board now has 20 days to potentially disagree with the executive director's decision. That's a June 9th deadline. And if they don't, Harris will no longer be a New Hanover County employee. Of course, we'll let you know when we hear an update.
All right, WECT investigative reporter Connor Smith with this breaking news update. Thanks so much.